Well, the ground is already rumbling. It's Hi-Tec Oils Race Tasmania, the kickoff of an exciting 7-round Trico Trans Am Series for 2025. Symmons Plains Raceway is picture perfect today. Blue skies, temperatures of 21, 22 degrees, perfect conditions to go car racing. The Trans Am cars are rolling behind us here in the pit lane at this historic Symmons Plains Raceway that's been in operation since 1960. A man who's not been in operation since 1960 is Thomas Randall. He normally drives the 55 Castrol Mustang for Tickford Racing in supercars. He had the weekend off from supercars, so we've given him a microphone. You're calling the action with Matt Nolte this weekend, but I think we're in for a good one here, Thomas, because we've got a record field of 32 Trans Am cars on a tight little racetrack. There's going to be some drama.
Oh, look, it's fantastic. 32 cars around here. Good morning, Noons. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning into our live stream here from Symmons Plains Raceway. Like you said, the cars have already hit the track. We have the Pro-Am, Trans Am class out there at the moment, 12 cars, just warming the track up for us. It's nice conditions this morning. It's going to reach a top of about 22 degrees today, but I tell you what, there's going to be some chaos today, plenty of action out on the track.
I think these vests are going to come off a little bit later in the day. I mentioned it's a 7-round series this year. There are 3 supporting the Repco Supercars Championship. There's 4 standalone events, and we want to highlight those ones. Here in Tasmania, we kick it off next month for Easter. Get it in the diary. The Hi-Tec Oils Bathurst 6-hour. The 6-hour production car race with the Trico Trans Am supporting. It's going to be a massive weekend at the mountain. Later in the year, the Winton Motor Raceway round. Race Winton in August. That's going to be a big one. These cars on that tight little track will be something to watch. And then something really exciting in November. We're going back to Mallala. Mallala Motorsport Park. Such history, such amazing history there for the Adelaide Homecoming weekend prior to the Adelaide Grand Finale, which will be the final round of both supercars and Trico Trans Am this season, I should say. Now, one guy in the pit lane who knows all about this series, he's covered all sorts of racing around the country over the course of many, many years. We've got him running up and down the lane, in the box as well this weekend. It's a big good morning and welcome to Tasmania, Cameron Vanderduncan.
Good morning, Noons. Good morning, Thomas and everybody. It's a beautiful day in Tasmania. I feel like this jacket's already too hot for me for today. Practice out on track at the moment. I'm standing out in front of the reigning champion for Trans Am, Todd Hazelwood's garage. We'll hear from him a little later on. Tyres out on the apron, trying to put some heat into it. Now, a couple of things to look out for today, particularly as we build towards qualifying for the first time in Trans Am. We will be awarding points from qualifying on pole. 2 points if you get pole position. That's critically important for a number of factors, as we'll talk about throughout the day. So everybody will be duking it out for the Trico Pole Award. And Aaron Noonan, $1,000 cold hard cash also on the line.
Cameron, you know very well that drivers like cash. This guy's not eligible for any of the cash today. He's going to be in the commentary box. Let's head there now. It's a very good day and welcome to the man with the V8 vocal cords. I think he's running one spark plug down today, but he's going to soldier on. Matt Nolte, welcome to you. We've got cars on track for first practice here in the opening round of 2025.
Yeah, thanks, Noons. Thanks, Thomas. Great to have you on board too, mate, for this new season of Trico Trans Am. And what a season we've got ahead. Our biggest field in series history. Our 5th visit down to the Symmons Plains venue and on track now. We split the practice sessions up today. We're bringing out our Pro-Am drivers or drivers that haven't been here before. And my goodness, what a field we have. 32 cars that made their way down here. 24 Mustangs and 8 Chevy Camaros in the field. You'll see the likes of Mark Bailey, who's been in the series last year, but only does a periodic championship, I guess it's fair to say. Rookie Cameron Laws, this guy, Jason Pride, who steps up into the National Trans Am Series full-time, running out of the West, the JPM Harman Transportable Homes team. So great to have him on board for the season, along with his sprint car buddy and former teammate Robbie Farr, that's driving for the Hi-Tec Oils Motorsport team in season 2025. He ran with TA2 muscle cars and still does, as a matter of fact, this year, but having to dabble on the big stage in 2025. Michael Coulter is also in the field. Car number 11, the Terps Tippers entry. Josh Webster, Tasmanian driver who's in his 3rd season, will also feature in this field. So 30 minutes of track time for the Trans Am cars to get familiar with it. It's a quick-fire 2-day event here at Symmons Plains Raceway. We'll have a short stop in between those 30 minutes, and then the balance of the field will come out for their first and only look before we split them up into qualifying. The nature of this track, you don't want 32 cars out there qualifying at one hit, so we'll split them up And judging by the last couple of years of qualifying, Symmons Plains home to the first and second tightest margins, first to second, when it comes to qualifying. We'd expect that today, as Tom Randall's made the big dash from pit lane on what is an absolutely cracking day here at Symmons Plains. We're kind of sad we're locked in this box, aren't we?
I know. Good morning, Matt Nolte. It is a perler of a day at the moment, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty good the whole weekend. So I was just out in the lane with Noons, and we've just got the shot here of Domain Ramsey making his debut here at Symmons Plains Raceway. His first laps were yesterday around the media laps that they did as a whole full field, and just trying to get to grips with this circuit, being only 2.5 kilometres long, or 2.4 in fact. 7 corners, just pinches a brake there. That's probably the trickiest area of the track in terms of braking, Nolts, because you've got bumps, you've got undulation, and you've got to be turning while braking. So it's really tricky to really nail that for turn 2. And he's just finding, I guess, where to put the car, approaching this effectively the slowest corner on the track. You can actually hear the front splitter just sort of kissing the ground there. And then that massively long packed straight, that little kick through turn 6 for a really hard braking zone into turn 7. So he's just, finding the limits. Like I said, first time here, lot to learn, even though it's such a short track. That is why it makes it so competitive, because it's so easy to make a mistake here. On paper, it looks not challenging, but the full field will be separated, potentially less than a second, as he has a massive slide out of the last corner.
Domain thinks he's back at Avalon Raceway with that move out the final turn. Very awkward for that to happen there. Maybe those tyres just aren't happy enough yet to be put through that torture. That was cool, though.
That was what we want to see. Well, maybe not for him. Probably a little bit of a brown pants moment, but he'd be used to that with all his sprint car action. And I think all he probably did there, Nolts, was, so he's gone to the apex, and just here you want to try and let the car flow out, get that AB. Yeah, so he's missed the apex for turn 7, and that's what's happened. Just got a bit of that, as they call it, out in the grey. And being kind of their first session, the track's still very green, so offline is going to be very dusty, very dirty.
This is a very unique format this weekend with no track time yesterday. We had a media day, but certainly not on racing rubber. Also just a handful of laps for our photographers. I think Jason Pride might have had a moment when we came back off that replay, because there was dust in the background down at turn number 6. So really quick fire day. I'll come back to that in a moment. So this is Pride. Yep, he did not just go off the track, he did 2 360s. So it's a bit of a sprint car theme down there today. Maybe they're just missing being on the dirt tracks down there. Friday returning to the track in car 14 and continues on. This is a really quick fire day. I mean, we're practicing now, we qualify in just over 2 hours, and then we race later today. You haven't got much time, if you haven't been here before, to get this track sorted.
It's a lot in a short space of time. So, like you said, Nolts, 30-minute practice session for these guys. We've split the Pro-Ams and the outright, because there is so many cars, 32 cars. That's a lot of vehicles on the track in one hit, especially for qualifying. So that's why they've done this. It's great for these guys to have their own 30-minute session, not have to worry about the outright guys as well. So great for them to just get some miles on their own. It's a lot easier when there's only 12. As we see Robbie Farr in the pit lane, probably just maybe doing a few tyre pressure adjustments, having a quick chat. Sometimes it's good if you haven't done many laps here. Whoa! Big moment for Laws off the back of the apex there. So just trying to find the limits here, and sometimes it's good to come in the pits and just take a breather, just mentally reset, and just lower the heart rate down and go again. When you've got a 30-minute session, you can actually get quite a few laps here, being such a short track.
Yeah, and the uniqueness is we don't tend to show this on broadcast, usually these practice sessions, so good chance to get familiar with the cars, of which there's no less than 10 new drivers in the series this year. And you'll hear us refer to some names as rookies and go, why are you referring to someone like Jared Hughes as a rookie? Well, he's a rookie in the series from our point of view in the National Trans Am Series, but there's no rookie honours as such for those guys. They have never raced in this championship.
And Jared Hughes, double duties with the Super 2 series as well, and announced as a co-driver for Erebus in the Endurance series of supercars, so that's very exciting for him. Mark Bailey trying a few different lines there, and we saw the lap before. Domain Ramsey going for the very narrow line, and there's a lot of options you can take at that hairpin, Nolts, of how you want to best approach the braking zone, because you're literally doing a 180 there, and it's so tight. First gear, and these being, a 4-speed H-pattern gearbox, Yeah, first gear is the lowest option, of course, so just trying to find how you best want to attack that. A later apex means you can probably brake a bit later and then try and really square it off that corner and aim for a good exit. But that's what this practice session's all about, just exploring where you want to place the car. And that turn 6, we've seen a few cars run off there now, and I think the challenging point with that corner is it actually tightens up on the exit. And when you haven't been here before, you kind of get sucked into that it opens up, and that's where you see these guys are just having those moments off the exit.
So Bailey just cooling down the Jack's Tyre and Auto Service entry, letting Des Collier go around the outside of him, one of the many TFH Mustangs we have in the field. Brett Thomas, who has been recently announced, purchased the Aussie Racing Car Series to add to his ever-growing catalogue of race cars and championships. It's good to see the fledgling TFH business involved in motorsport here in Australia. So early days in this 30-minute practice session, of which nearly 11.5 minutes have elapsed. Josh Webb's the quickest, 55.2. Yeah, less than a minute for this lap. 55.2 is the quickest lap of the session so far. Josh Thomas runs in second. John Hollinger third. Mark Bailey is next. Cameron Laws making his first start in the 9 machine. Graham Cheney in car 51. Robbie Farr, who's back on the track now, he's in 7th position. Domain Ramsey, Mark Crutcher, who comes up in a 9th. Back to Jason Bride, Michael Coulter and Des Collier of the 12 cars in this session.
Now, the fastest time last year, the outright pole position time was a low 53. So the track is just going to rubber in over this next couple of hours. Like you said, it's a quick fire day with 2 practice sessions, 2 qualies, or I guess you could say split practice, split quali, and then a race. And then tomorrow as well, Noel, is going to be pretty jam-packed. You've got 3 Trico Trans Am races in the space of, you know, not many hours. So it's going to be a battle of survival around here because you want to have a car for that last race. So I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty of action across those races, but it's all about the strategy of just making it to the end of the weekend, trying to have a clean car and not rushing too many things between sessions. So it's important to try and get on top of the car, on top of the track as quickly as you can around this 2.4 kilometre circuit.
Josh Webster, you're watching now, powering out of the turn 4 hairpin. From Hobart here in Tasmania, was a Tasmanian XL champion a few seasons back, in his 3rd season this year of the Trico Trans Am Series. It's a bit of an affiliation with Marcus Ambrose, who's helping him out as well. And Hi-Tec Oils have jumped on board to help out the young Tasmanians' venture in the world of motorsport. Have we got more at turn 6? We haven't. It's already starting to prove a bogey corner. Graham Cheney loops the Chevy Camaro around down there. The IES Motorsport entry rejoins the track. So already starting to see that is going to be our trouble zone as this track continues to take rubber, and pit lane a hive of activity with the balance of the field in the garage just ready to roll for the second part of practice, which will follow this. And for now, most of the field are done between 10 and 13 laps out there to get a feel. John Hollinger back on the track here in car 23, 3rd position for the Hollinger engineering car.
I mean, this is the session, Nolts, to find the limits, you know, and so far all the spins or offs we've seen, they're all pretty harmless. So this is the time to work out where you want to be placing the car, brake markers, all those sorts of things. And Hollinger, yeah, top 3 at the moment. It's, you know, 4/10 covering the top 4. So it's a tough track to try and find time, you know, because it is so short. We've only got 3 braking zones here, and we've got pretty much half the field in the pit lane nearly, and the other half is on the track as we ride on board with Robbie Farr out of turn number 2, up through the gearbox. He'll be up in 3rd gear, and then back down to, up to 4th, back down to 1st gear. So it's pretty quick to get back from 4th down to 1st when you're braking around the 130 metre marker into turn number 4.
Great to have someone like Robbie Farr jump into this, and I'm expecting a few more of the winged warriors to jump in the Trans Am car as time goes on here. Robbie's had a very, very good career in sprint cars and speed cars for that matter too, when he won the Aussie Championship many years ago, but taking the step into tarmac racing, and he's admitted he's enjoyed the challenge. He's always been up for a challenge over the years. His sprint car career's not over, and people are quick to judge going, oh, he's given up his sprint car career. He hasn't. He has a moment through there in turn number 6, but he's really enjoying his time here. He'll adapt to it. And he got a strong result in the TA2 muscle car round down at Winton in the end, scored a top 5 result there. So I'm expecting to see big things from his Hi-Tec Oils car this year.
Well, and it's fantastic that he's part of the category, and at the moment driving it like his sprint car, and that's one thing about this category. With a cross-ply tyre, you know, you can really throw these cars around, so he'd be using all his knowledge and all that feel that he gets from all his sprint car driving and taking that into the Trans Am. And it's no different to guys like Jermaine Ramsey, you know, coming from the Speedway world. And Robbie Farr, you know, he initially competed in go-karts alongside the likes of Craig Lowndes and Mark Webber. So there is a little bit of tarmac racing in his blood, but not so much in a car. So yeah, he was pretty quick to transition, obviously, to the sprint cars, which still having a few slides off the back of turn 6. But you know, what, 3 decades in sprint cars and Speedway, and yeah, pretty cool to see him in Trans Am.
One only of a handful of drivers that have won the sprint car and speed car national championship as well, and has done it for many, many years. Good buddy of his, Jason Pride, back in the pits as well as the track quietens down for a moment. Josh Webster also in pit lane as he moves to a Mustang this year after a couple of seasons with a Chevy Camaro. And he's comfortably at the top. And I say comfortably 2.5 tenths. When I tell you that the pole margin record is 0.0012 of a second from 2 seasons ago back here, that's how tight qualifying will be. And you know what? I even think with 16 cars out there qualifying when we split the sessions, that's still going to be hectic in that final couple of minutes.
It is. I mean, a 53-second lap and 16 cars, it's only about 3 seconds gap average between the cars that you're leaving in qualifying. So it's going to be that balance, Nolts, of working out, okay, how close do I want to be to try and get some sort of slipstream, some sort of tow, because there are 2 really long straights here, the one out of turn 3 and then out of turn 4. But if you're too close to the car behind, you know, you might miss your braking markers or have some lockups like Domain is experiencing into turn 2. And I think just watching, that's a result of trying to just carry too much speed around turn 1 over the hump and then just arriving too fast for turn 2, and that's where he then obviously loses the time off of turn 2, and that can really hurt you down to turn 4. So, and they're fantastic drone shots that we're capturing here this morning as well.
That really shows you how sharp it is. What it doesn't show is the elevation change to the top. You and I have walked down there a few times over the years, but the drop off from the top to the bottom, it's staggering.
It is. I mean, you can just get a water bottle or a tennis ball and roll it down the hill, and the amount of speed it picks up just because of not only the drop-off but the camber as well that's on offer. And we'll see in the races certainly a few different lines, passing attempts there, which is going to be pretty exciting.
So Ramsey trips the line there at 56.7. Notice that on the exit, he was really cautious on applying the throttle through there. Is there a bump maybe that's developed there since we were last here 12 months ago?
Off the last corner, there is a bump, and it's super important when you exit that turn 6, which is that braking zone corner. Sort of got to let the car run out a bit, then grab the inside of the turn 7 curve, and then you kind of got to run it right out on the exit. And there's actually a strip of concrete, which I'm sure we'll get a shot of at multiple points of the day, where you really want to have your right side tyres there. That means you've kind of maximised that exit. And then it's really challenging because you have to get the car over to the left-hand side super quickly to get it set for turn 1. So you just can't be lazy. You can't afford that. So, and that is a massive lock-up. He's going to have potentially a little spin. No, he saved it.
Remember how I said he was being cautious last time? Not so this time. He was committed at turn 6 that time. And just far enough off the racing line and just spat him out the other side. When you're looking at speeds between 245 and 250 Ks, on the approach to here, and yeah, pinch that left front coming in. It was never pulling up.
Yeah, probably just going too hot. So,
honest assessment.
Yes, maybe not enough brake application at the beginning of the stop, and then certainly plenty of brakes were applied at the very end of the braking zone. So I think we've got Noons down in pit lane for us. Noons, what can you tell us?
Get to Noons in just a few moments. He's pounding the pit lane and chasing stories along with Cameron Vandendungen here today as part of Hi-Tec Oils Race Tasmania. Qualifying to come up just after 1 o'clock today for the Trico Trans Am Series. Really looking forward to seeing how the season opens up, but we go to Bathurst for the next one at the 6-hour event, which is a crossover between TA2 muscle cars and the National Trans Am Series. We could see grids of 40-plus cars there for that event.
Isn't that excellent?
It's awesome.
40 Trans Am / TA2 cars going around.
coming together for that weekend. This category
mileage, which is just great if you're a racing driver, and it's so much bang for your buck in Trans Am racing.
He was third in last year's TA2 Muscle Car Series. Actually was a Masters class champion for drivers over 50 years of age. So wrapped up that crown nicely last year. Robbie Farr back out on track now. And currently in 8th position, while Josh Webster is starting to fire up in the final 8 minutes. Fastest first sector of the session. A 55.2 is the quickest lap so far this morning. If you just joined our coverage, practice. This is for the Pro-Am side. The 12 cars that will feature in the 32 that we do have for the first round. Jason Pride now heading down towards turn number 5. This long sweeping right-hander with a bit of camber. And down towards turn 6, which has been testing the limits of both car and driver on this opening day of season 25.
It's funny, that shot we were looking at Domain Ramsey into turn 6, where he's really been struggling at the moment. His first sector pretty much matches Webster, and his second sector is only about a 10th off. So if he can just work out that last complex, you know, he'll be right up there.
Yeah. Josh Thomas back on the track in car 69, currently in second position. So a lot of laps have been punched out this session, approaching 20 laps for a lot of the field now, with Webster, Thomas, Hollinger, Crutcher and Cameron Laws in the top 4. A fleet of Mustangs before a whole fleet of Chevy Camaros behind, with Graham Cheney, Domain Ramsey, Mark Bailey, Robbie Farr, Jason Pride, Des Collier and Michael Coulter of the 12 cars that are circulating. That time, incidentally, for Webster didn't improve. In fact, improved on his final sector, but still has that comfortable 2.5 tenths of a second advantage. But behind that, there's not much doing. 8,000 separating Thomas and Hollinger. And Crutcher back there in the 4th position in car 4. Hard to miss that yellow and black. The Bumblebee, number 4, might get the nickname for season 25 as Josh Thomas starts a lap.
Heading into turn 1, just nearly pitching that right front into there as well, and very narrow off turn 2. So it's, like I said, it's a very tricky complex to get right. Normally if you're strong at turn 1, 2 complex, then you're generally strong everywhere else, because if you've got that really good braking support, it just helps for the rest of the lap. And I mean, the top 8 cars, Nolts, are separated by only half a second, and that's sort of what we've spoken about, of how close it is, you know, the racing here. And you know, half a second around here, it doesn't sound like a lot, I guess, but as a driver, it certainly feels like a lifetime. And he's heading into that final complex now. This lap at the moment is sort of probably on par with where he's been for the rest of the session. So he's just exiting out of that last corner, ready to probably start another flyer. And I would say probably this lap will be a bit quicker. Being such a short track, Knowles, it's hard to get the tyres up for the first lap. So
lap time he set early before, so well called.
all those times together and then split them in half for qualifying this afternoon, because with 32 cars on the track in the races, it's going to be busy enough, but to give them a fair chance in qualifying, we're just going to split those groups and give them as much chance and as much racetrack as they've got to play with over the course of today qualifying.
Yeah, well said, mate. That's a great point you've raised, that while we're splitting these two sessions up based on their class, it's the overall practice times combined. Now, you may just have a situation where a few of these rookies' times might stick to get in that top 50%.
Or you have a problem in practice and then
Correct.
you're in the lower 50%, and it's a tricky one. You obviously don't want to be in that lower 50% for obviously a number of reasons, because the track's only just going to improve, you know, so that's why the lower 50% will go out first, and then they'll send the upper 50% from practice. And I just wanted to make a note, how tough did Noons look there in the garage with those sunnies on?
Suits the Trico jacket, our Storm Tech jackets they're wearing. Yeah, fantastic. It's nice to come down here and get a tan. It's just magic outside today here at Symmons Plains. I was going to refer the point, when you have these split qualifying sessions, and we're not going to have that kind of weather here, so dramas here for Crutcher. He's arrived on a hot lap with two cars just ahead here, and that's going to cost him this lap. And it was his best time up until that point. Sorry, Hollinger's on his best time. But Crutcher, we were watching on the way down to turn 4. And that's just what you'd expect in qualifying. A bit of that's going to happen.
It is, and these cars, they don't have headlights, so trying to, I guess, know if someone's on a hot lap. That's one beautiful thing in supercars, is there's a bit of a gentleman's agreement of putting your headlights on if you're on a hot lap. So there's going to need to be some good radio comms between, I guess, back in the pits to the drivers of who's on what lap, but hopefully they can sort it out in qualifying. But yeah, there's a little bit of
John Hollinger solidly in 4th position aboard car 23. Had a troublesome end to 2024. Engineering. So we look at some of the highlights at Hi-Tec Oils Race Tasmania, the Pro-Am practice session, and turn 6 didn't take long to start serving up some highlights. Domain Ramsey taking it back to the dirt tracks for his sprint car buddy. Did the same. Jason Bryant down here at turn number 6. Later in the lap, or later in the session, this was Graham Cheney doing the same. So that was 3 in our first highlight packages. Make it 4.
That was our action zone. Yeah, Domain had a few moments into turn 6, but I tell you what, first time at Simmons Plains, finished P6, 3/10 off. This was that last moment from Mark Bailey into turn number 2. Just the back end swapping out on him and a nice little save. But, Webster finishing in P2, like you said, Knowles only 4 or 42 ten-thousandths off position number 1.
So for Webster, he had that time locked in for pretty much the entire session until this guy sent it on his final lap to a 55.2. No points on the line here, but certainly a good form guide for later on today. Thomas, Webster, Laws and Hollinger, the top 4. Crutcher, Domain Ramsey, Graham Cheney, Mark Bailey, Jason Bryant and Robbie Farrell inside the top 10. Des Collier and Michael Coulter of the first 12 cars that have gone out. They go back into their garages now, and the outright cars start to make their presence known here on a very busy pit lane. Let's go downstairs. Here's Noons.
Well, Matt, first bragging rights from that first practice session for Pro-Am with Josh Thomas. Hey, mate, you're the top of the pops. You're the fastest man here so far. We should just call it off now.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. No, good to get back here. It's an awesome track. It's the most difficult, simple track there is. So, car wasn't fantastic. So, hopefully we got a bit more pace in it. And it's going to be interesting to see this next session speed. So, see where we're really at.
Splitting up the outright cars and the Pro-Am cars for both practice and qualifying, that's a good call. Just gives you that bit more road to play with and get your head into the game to start off a new season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're only split in practice. So, Pro-Am are out first for practice. And obviously all the outrights are out now. But if we're quick enough to be in the top 50%, we'll end up qualifying with some of the outright boys.
All season long. And a South Aussie born, Brisbane based, just bought his first home up there in the last couple of days as well. Todd Hazelwood carrying the number 1. What a turnaround it was. When you think about 2023, he finished up with Blanchard Racing. Didn't know where his future was going to be. I remember sitting in Adelaide on the week of the Adelaide 500. We were having lunch in the city, and he didn't know where he was going. Didn't know what he was going to be racing. Gets a shot with TFH Racing, wins on debut, gets a drive with Erebus, with Brody Kostecki, goes on and wins Bathurst, goes on and wins the National Trans Am Series. I mean, what a season and what a year it was.
I mean, I've never obviously won those accomplishments for like what Todd has, but to think where he would have been mentally as well at the end of 2023, I can only imagine what that would have felt like. And I think if someone had tapped him on the shoulder at the end of 2023,
He's a nice human being and just deserved all of that last year and more. The emotion, there's a really great picture was captured of him when he won Bathurst with Brodie last year. And knowing the guy for a long, long time now, the amount of work they've done, the family to get him to where he is right now, just amazing to see that result.
Yeah, it was. And turn 1 curb or on a down change potentially. So he's just waiting patiently while all the cars shuffle down through, safely rejoining.
Rejoins the circuit down there at turn number 1. So in the first, let's say, 6 minutes, 7 minutes of the session, the fastest car from the first part of practice is now 19th. Straight away, the outright cars have filled the first 18 positions with Moffat, 53.6, 2/10 clear of Nathan Hearn, James Golding, Todd Hazelwood, and Jordan Cox, the top 5 and all in the pits. Lachlan Evanet, Formula Ford star that steps up into the Trico Series this year, is 6th already. Tom Davies, Nash Morris that you're riding car with. The Norwell Motorplex, number 67 Ford Mustang, quite busy behind the wheel from our Worth in-car camera. And the Flash, ready to take on the series once again. Multi-time race winner in the category, son of the dude, Paul Morris. And down here into turn 4, he rocks with Elliot Barber behind him in 9th spot. Josh Haynes is now 10th. Jackson Rice, Ben Grice. Oh no, they did this to me last year. They were joined like this. 11th and 12th position, Adam Garwood, Tasmanian, driving for Jared McLeod's team. It's going to be a full-time assault this year in the series. Coming off the high of winning the Touring Car Masters crown and that beautiful Commodore last year that's been on sold to the Duggan team, and they've got young Jude Bargwana driving this year in the series. Blake Tracy, another one of the rookies. Chase Hoy from the west in the DeCandelo Steel City car back in 15th. Jack Smith 16th, and Ben Bargwana is only 17th. And Charlie Nash, the young man you're quite familiar with back there in 18th position.
I am. Charlie's making his debut not only in the Trico Trans Am series, but at Simmons Plains Raceway. So he's another newbie to racing down at the Apple Isle, and I mean, he's been around motorsport. It's not always a bad thing, Nolts, because you will have potentially a clearer track, I guess, if you're maybe one of the faster guys in that Pro-Am spot, where I think the top 16 in the outright, they're all going to be backing off. You'll see there'll be mind games aplenty, trying to find a gap, trying to find space. So half the battle around here in qualifying is just getting a lap.
Yeah, and going back to my point before about split qualifying, when we go to tracks like this, usually in the wintertime, we'd have that advent of maybe a shower of rain happening in the second part of qualifying, which could end up jumbling up the grid. It has happened before.
It has indeed, and I don't think we're going to have that problem.
No, not today.
Which is great that Tasmania, Launceston, they've turned the weather on for us this weekend. You couldn't ask for better conditions. So Jordan Cox in the lane, they've got the car jacked up and make an adjustment on the front of the car. And here is our fastest Pro-Am car, Joshua Thomas. Just having a little sunbake out in the lane at the moment.
Cars need to be 45-degree angle into the garage at the end of the session, Sam. Work going on, by the look of it, on the Pioneer DJ car in the background, so might need to get on top of what's happening with Elliot Barber's car, car 75, yet to win a race in the Trico Trans Am series. In the background, Jared Hughes joins in the Road Active Suspensions car. Won 3 of the 4 races in the TA2 Muscle Car Series opener. Was on for the clean sweep. And the final couple of laps of the race, Ben Gomersall got past and ultimately won his first race on debut in the first round of Winton. He's also in the field making his debut in the Trico Trans Am Series. We're right on board with James Moffat here, who sits at the top and 6 laps next to his name with a 53.6. And just under 18.5 minutes remain of this second part of this season opener, the Trico Trans Am Series, as part of Hi-Tec Oils Race Tasmania.
This is a great shot, isn't it, riding on board with Moffat? There's only 5 cars on the track at the moment, so he's got a very clear track ahead of him. So heading down into turn
Well, in fact, his warm-up lap was quicker.
Yeah, he might be doing a race run, I'm not sure. So still got 16 minutes remaining, which is, that's plenty of laps. You could do 16 laps probably. So they might just be trying to do a longer run here potentially, just trying to work out what he needs from the car as opposed to shorter qualifying runs. So we've got a few more cars heading out of the lane now, and this is going to be an interesting last 16 minutes because you're going to want to book your spot in that top 16 that'll get you through that qualifying session. So Benny Barguana at the moment, he's just on the outside of that. And then Charlie Nash, the rookie, the young gun, the 17-year-old Tickford Autosport pilot who will be doing double duties this year in the Toyota 86 GR Cup as well. So that'll be his second season in GR Cup, but his first year with the Paul Morris team, or the Norwell team. So he's teammates with another Nash. There's Nash Morris, who's in the top 10 at the moment.
So rear end adjustment going on the championship winning car the driver from last year. It's a brand new car for the TFH team. Support from Unsecured Finance. They've jumped on board, get a nice splash of blue over the front of the TFH #1 Mustang. Todd Hazelwood as he sits in the pit lane. Josh Haynes about to join the track. Looks like Elliot Barber has been cured. He's coming up behind in the Pioneer DJ car and Nathan Hearn. So with 15 minutes to go, Tom Davies has got some severe work happening down in the pits. Nunes?
Matt, you just mentioned the Todd Hazelwood #1 car. You're right, brand new car for Todd this year. It's only done about 30 laps of running at Queensland Raceway before coming down here to Tassie. With all those TFH cars, it's a little word of warning for commentators, viewers. The #1 Hazelwood car, it's got that aqua bonnet and roof. That's the way to tell it apart when all those cars are in the same big field at the same time. And just having a look at this timing screen too, boys. I mean, this is really important. In that top 7 fastest cars so far, 5 of them are Gary Rogers Motorsport cars. They have rolled out of the truck very, very well. And for James Moffat, he's looking for those 2 championship points. He'd like the $1,000. But the other thing is here, if he can get pole today, he'll be the man with the record for the most poles in the short history of the Trico Trans Am Series. So there's plenty on the line when we go qualifying a bit later on.
Yeah, it's a lot to play out. I'm not sure if you had the same feeling, Nunes, like we did up here in the commentary box, but that first 5 minutes, it was angry. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
He agrees.
I think he's just speechless.
He's nodding.
He's nodding, yeah, with his sunglasses on in the lane. So, Elliot Barber on the cusp of the top 10, and Charlie Nash just heading up into P12 there. So that's a nice lap for him, 54.5. So still just getting to grips with these Trans Am vehicles. They're so close to that Armco on the exit of turn #3. They're pretty much riding the wall on the outside of turn #3, and we can just hear some pinch brakes in the background into turn #4.
So Nathan Hearn, second at the moment, 3-time winner here in the past. In fact, was the first ever winner of a Trans Am race. Is that Jordan Cox?
That's what I heard, the lockup. So Jordan Cox deep into turn #4, but he didn't end up in that gravel trap.
No, just got the nose hanging over the top. So the Schaeffler Mustang, got to get used to saying that this year, after many years in the Schaeffler Peugeot for Gary Rogers Motorsport. And off the track again is Haynes, and he has brought a lot of dust into the air, and he gets away. I thought he might have been buried.
Let's have a look here on the replay. So he's just gone in too hot into turn #2, lost the rear end. And
oh, wow, he was lucky to get out of that one. And great presence of mind for Chase Hoy, who was in the background as well. The Candelo Steel City car that was coming in hot on his lap. For Haynes, that's a bit of good luck getting out there. That is a very deep gravel trap.
It is, and good to test the limits in practice, Nolts, as we spoke about a bit earlier with our Pro-Am guys. And yeah, turn 1 for him seems to be a bit of the Achilles heel at the moment, so that'll probably be the area that he's going to need to work on between practice and qualifying, and just trying to find the best way to tackle that, because that really just sets up that whole first sector.
So the reigning TA2 Muscle Car Series champion running in 11th position right now. Ben Grice in the bottom, another yellow flag, so something's happened down the bottom as Charlie Nash comes into the hairpin, the beautiful Tickford Autosport livery car 55. So there's a bit going on here as we approach the 10-minute mark and head towards that happy hour period where 16 cars will split apart for qualifying in just over an hour and a half's time. Adam Garwood found a chunk of time then. He comes up into 11th position now aboard car number 2, the Maverick Performance car. Here's the flash. Nash Morris heading down towards turn 4, 9th position. Back in car. Unlike the other drivers, really taking what would be the old traditional way of going through turn 4, right down by the gutter.
Yeah, it looks like he's either on an out lap or a cool down lap there, so just letting a few of the cars by, and we'll see whether or not, yeah, he goes for another lap here. He's currently in position number 9, so at the moment safe within that top 16, but there's about a second covering the top 16 at the moment, so we've got Jack Smith is outside of the bubble, just like Ben Gomersall and Ben Barguana. Jared Hughes is in 21st at the moment, so he's sort of at the tail end of the outright guys, and Nash has actually bailed into the pits.
So Gomersall, 18th position. He's taken a while to come up the order. He was sitting down in the 24th, 25th position outright for most of this session, but still is 1.1 seconds away from the fastest lap of the race. Meantime, still work going on down the pit lane on the TFH cars. James Golding also. I'm noticing here's a lot of work on the rear end of these cars in this practice session.
Yeah, they actually look like they could be making similar adjustments both in the right rear end of that car, so possibly just chasing more rear end grip, it looks like. You are seeing a lot of these cars squirming in the rear, which is a little bit of a nature of these cars and on this tyre as well, but the more entry confidence that you can have in the rear of these cars, we call it rear stability if you like, it's just going to help with more lap time. So small adjustments there. I mean, Jimmy's up in 3rd at the moment, so again, just trying to flick a few changes at it, see what they can find that might work for whether it be qualifying or in the races as well, because it will just be one qualifying section after this as we get a replay of what may have happened down at turn 4. Oh, that is just a little bit too hot for Jordan Cox. So, and that was his 2nd off at turn number 4. So just finding the limits under braking. I would say probably a different braking market to what he's used to in his Schaeffler Peugeot in the past.
Yes, just a tad. Twice as heavy as well, perhaps.
As we look at Jack Smith, who's 17th at the moment.
Ben Barguana back in the pits, hanging to forklifts entry.
Really enjoying his time in the Trans Am series. Hasn't actually done that many laps in this particular car. He said he got to do about 20 laps here at Simmons Plains about a week and a half ago. There was a test on Friday a week ago, and he really enjoyed. He said the first moment he put his foot down, it looks like Josh Haynes may have had another moment in the background there into turn number 4. So you're really just trying to find the limits for him as well. Turn number 1, as we've seen, and turn number 4. Looking at Jordan Cox in the Schaeffler Trans Am.
This will answer your question, I think. Here he comes again.
Oh, wow.
That was a late-minute exit stage right for Haynes. He got away.
That could have been a lot worse.
We're having a lot of these little big ones, if that makes sense. Which makes me worried a bit for qualifying later today.
I was going to say, is this a precursor for what we might be experiencing later in the day? But normally when you're pointing right for a left-hander under braking and you've got 2 wheels in the dirt, it's not normally a good sign. So he's done well to essentially avoid the concrete wall, because that is a concrete wall on the right-hand side there. So
it's not moving anytime soon, by the way.
No, it's not. That's up against an earth embankment, and you don't normally win against one of those walls. No. So looks like he's actually headed back to the pits. So maybe a change of underwear required there.
Tom Davies, car 42, on the back of Jared Hughes. And Hughes, hopefully we'll just move across and let him go. Well, he's on a lap as well at the moment. Hughes outside, looking in. He's 21st at the moment. There's Barguana back on the track. I noticed quickly, too, when the Elliott Barber car come back into the pits, the crew was straight to the rear of that car. So they're still not entirely happy with the Chevy Camaro, the only Chevy Camaro, incidentally, in the top 15. For Chase Hoy, on his first start, he is inside the field in 16th. Jared Hughes only 21st in the other Chevy Camaro at the moment. No change at the top, incidentally, as we wind our way towards the 6-minute mark remaining of this final part of practice before qualifying. 2 series points up for grabs for qualifying. Each of our 7 pole position awards in the Trico Trans Am Series, plus a gorilla for good measure. We always like a bit of that folding stuff.
1,000 gorillas.
1,000 gorillas.
Ben Barguana, we're just following now in the Hangcha Trans Am. Now, he is in 19th at the moment, Nolt, so these last six minutes are pretty crucial for him because he wants to get inside that top 16 and be in that upper 50% to try and, I guess, battle for the pole position. But yeah, that Ford Mustang heading down to turn number 6. That's not going to be this lap, I don't think. Sets a green middle sector, but yeah, he's got probably another 4 laps up his sleeve, I'd say. So I don't think we'll be seeing him in the pits until before the checkered flag. So like I said, these last 5 minutes, he's going to have to try and find a couple of tenths to get himself up into the 16th, top 16. He's moved up to 18th, but he needs to find about a tenth of a second at the moment to break into that upper 50%.
So he's behind Jack Smith, his first run in the Trico Trans Am Series. Former V8 Touring Car Series champion back in 20... Oh, that's a pinch right and right front of the 97 car on the way down into turn number 4. For Smith, he joins full-time in 2025. He'll jump back into the SCT Camaro later this year in the endurance races with Jackson Evans, which is good to see.
Pretty much every car, bar Grice and Adam Garwood, are on the track now, so this is getting pretty busy for everyone, trying to, well, for those that are on the bubble, if you like, stay within that top 50% for qualifying. Barguana still just struggling to get into that top 16, so he's probably going to get about 3 more laps here, I'd say, maybe 4 to get into that upper 50%. Moffat pretty comfortable out in front with that 53.6, which has stood for pretty much the whole session. So the track's just heating up now as well. We're hitting, well, we've just hit midday, 12 o'clock in fact, so the track temperature will just be rising, and as the tyres are getting older, it's going to be harder to try and get into that or get faster. So just riding on board with Nash, the Flash as they call him, Nash Morris, exit out of turn 2, up through the gears into turn 3, right up, as we said, up against the wall, the Armco, out of turn number 3. He's getting a nice little toe here as well, into 4, back through the gearbox, down to first. Just trying to judge where I think he's got Jordan Cox in front of him at the moment, which looks like he's on a lap as well. So, yeah, 3.5 minutes nearly remaining in the session, Nolts.
So Moffat, he's in the pits, and I think that'll be the end of his session. 2:10s, he set that very, very early in this practice session with Hearn, Golding, Hazelwood, Jordan Cox. Great job for Lachlan Evanet. Best of the rookies in 6th position with Tom Davies. In the lane comes Morris. Davies 7th, Grice. Morris, you're in car with 9th. Elliot Barber back on the track in 10th position. It's an all Motorplex team wait for the Flash to roll back into their garage. Adam Garwood is in 11th position with Josh Haynes. Charlie Nash in 13th spot. Jackson Rice in 14th. Blake Tracy, another one of the rookies in the field. He's inside the top 50% with Chase Hoy. That is the first 16 in the closing 3 minutes of practice here. Barber back on the track. So Jared Hughes still 21st.
Tell you what, that's a great job for Charlie. First time here in the top 50%, only 2/10 off his teammate Nash Morris as well. So what a great session for him.
Absolutely.
The more he drives these cars, he's just going to get more and more comfortable with how they handle, how to try and find the best out of these tyres and maximise the grip, especially on a green tyre effectively for qualifying. So as the session went on, he actually improved as the tyres got older. So it's just going to be more laps. A bit wide there for Garwood out of turn number 2. So he's safely within that top 50% as well. So the Jack Smith just outside of the top 16. Only two 100ths that's separating him from getting in that top 50%, and Benny Barguana as well there in 18th. So going to be a bit of a struggle for those 2, or those 3. Smith, Barguana, Gomersall, and I guess Jared Hughes as well, who at the moment is in 21st overall. So that time of Joshua Thomas is still keeping him in 20th position.
Beautiful day here in Tasmania. As this session starts to wind down, less than 90 seconds remain. We look at Lachlan Everett, Formula Ford star in the Cam Quarries and Concrete number 8 Mustang, stepping up into the Trico Trans Am Series in 6th position in his first day. Each season we see new names roll into the category, but I can't recall a time I've seen so much new talent and quality of talent that's coming through. This is going to be a cracking season.
It is, and with 32 cars on the grid, like you said, some great talent emerging from whether it be Formula Ford or there's so many, I guess, grassroots categories that these guys have come from, and the competition to have these guys in Trans Am, such a great category, and you've got, you know, the mixes of Fords, Chevs, everyone powered by that LS3 6.2 litre V8. So there's nowhere to hide in this category, and we just see year on year this category just grows from strength to strength. So this is basically capacity, well, nearly capacity grid here at Simmons Plains. So I think it was a great decision to split these guys for qualifying, because it would have been pretty chaotic to try and have 32 guys out there in the one hit.
No, big tick for that one. There'll be too much carnage in the session as we're about to throw the checkered flag over the field and wrap up a solid hour of practice here with everybody getting at least 25 laps today. Good to see. As the flag now waves and James Moffat goes into qualifying. The quickest car, the LMCT Plus Ford Mustang, former series champion again at turn 4 is Jordan Cox in the Schaeffler Mustang. So that's 3 he's had in this session alone. I think he's ticked the box on the limits down there.
He's still in the top 5, so yeah. This is the time to do it. Find the limits, so then when he gets to qualifying, he should know exactly where he needs to brake within a metre, I'd say.
For 0.2 of a second between first and second on a track like this, that is light years, the difference between Moffat and Hearn. When we're talking about qualifying times, first to second being less than 100th of a second, it does make a massive difference as the session ends. And Noons, James Moffat quickest in 0.2 of a second. That's a mighty margin.
Well, I guess you are the leader of the team here at Gary Rogers Motorsport, Moff, because you're often flying, you're often rolling. Did you expect that?
We always expect to be fast, Noons. If we didn't, we shouldn't be here. But, yeah, like you said, it is a good start. But you and I have both been around long enough, mate, to know that it's only practice. So, but certainly to roll out of the truck fast means we don't really have to throw much at it between now and qualifying. Just a couple little tweaks here or there.
This track always is tough to find enough road. We've split the sessions, we've split the cars up, so you've got a bit more to play with. What about slipstream here? How much of an important factor is that with these cars? Are these different to supercars or the other cars that you've raced in your time? Is it more important here to get a tow from someone?
Look, it's certainly a consideration, especially today. There is a slight headwind down the back straight, so anytime you're launching off a slow corner like turn 4 and then, you know, opening the legs, so to speak, a slipstream is always helpful. But, you know, sometimes you can go searching for that and get yourself mixed up as well. So, and it costs you more than what you gain with the slipstream. So, clear track is always important, and that'll be the case in qualifying.
Now, speaking of qualifying, Trico Trans Am Pole Award, $1,000 on the line at each of the rounds this year. You done your deal with Gary and Barry Rogers here. How does that all work?
Oh, I wish I'd done my deal with them, but no, it'd be nice. I'm just focused on trying to grab the cheque, and we'll worry about who gets to spend it later.
Fair play. We'll see you a bit later on.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Noons. I'm sure that Moffat will definitely want to get that pole position, and I'm keen to see where that $1,000 is going to go. So he's a bit sheepish about that. Now we've done a little bit of a switch. Nolts has exited the commentary booth, and we bring in the great Cameron Vandendungen. Cameron, great to have you with us. Great, well, thanks for joining us. And what have you made of the morning so far?
It's been a beautiful day out there. I've just had to take the jacket off. I'm not used to this in Tasmania. I heard Matt Nolte saying earlier on that the weather, he's not used to getting a suntan down here. Well, I've gone beyond suntan. I'm starting to get burnt out there right now. But thank you, Thomas Randall. Good to be back on board the commentary box here at Simmons Plains. And
that session was on. It was fast and frantic from the outset, and that was why I was talking to Jason Bargwanna earlier. The chat from most of the drivers up and down the pit lane was, we really need to get us set up, because the turnaround time with only 10 minutes in qualifying, 2 points on the line. You mentioned the $1,000, but it's track position more than anything else. So 2 points is going to become critical come race number 4. So it is on round points. An additional 2 off qualifying on pole could be the difference between front row or second or even third row, depending on how tight we get there. But really impressed with Trans Am. Matt Nolte and I called a lot of the racing last year, and we said we felt there is a buzz, there is a growth, energy, there is something special about this category, and now that we're running bigger grids, we're really starting to expand. You just look at it and go, this is a category you want to be amongst.
100%, and going back to that chat with Jason Bargwanna, it's a shame for Benny, didn't quite make that top 50%, but yeah, this category is just growing from strength to strength, isn't it? You know, and we're just looking at the highlights now from that practice session. A whopping, 20 cars rolled out, because we split the field. We had the Pro-Am and the Outright, and this was Josh Haynes, who had quite a few moments actually in practice 1. This was probably the biggest one of all, and great that he got on the anchors there after he realised he got out of the gravel trap. And Jordan Cox had a few moments into turn 4 and ended up P5, top 5. But this was a massive maximising that braking. The car looks fantastic. That Allen CT plus Ford Mustang GRM entry, really just hanging it out there at turn 7, and yeah, he's super comfortable out there. Nunes just chatted to him, and we're going to see where, if he can get that pole position, that will take him to, I guess, the record most poles for a driver in the Trico Trans Am series.
Well, with that and the highlights of the Trico Trans Am underway, put in the pocket, we head now to the Hi-Tec Oils Race Tasmania Hyundai XL ACL Race Series, and this is qualifying. So a 20-minute session, they're rolling out on track 4. Who was one of the first cars out on track. That's Jackson Shaw. Jackson Shaw is probably your favourite for the Tasmanian State Championship for the Hyundai XLs. For those of you that watched Race Tasmania last year, he was right up the front racing with Ollie Wickham when they were duking it out for the trophy at the end of it. So Jackson Shaw, car number 10, that is one to watch out for, and probably my tip to sit on pole. But having said that, Adam Macro did say, do not discount Tabitha Ambrose. She raced all over the country. Adam said, we drove together. I went around the country with her. She raced everywhere, and whenever she was in an XL, she was in the top 4. So don't write her off.
Isn't that fantastic? Great to see her make her debut in the Formula Ford Championship in that lovely Pertec-backed Formula Ford. So, yeah, more miles for her here in the Hyundai XL Series. And, yeah, qualifying, we've got Jackson Shaw leading the charge here. Not looking for a toe as much, so they do love a little bit wide there into turn number 4, but yeah, XL's always produced great racing, especially around here. So as we ride on board with Tabitha into turn 4, so she's going to get a lovely double slip here up the back straight, and 17 minutes remaining. This is a 20-minute practice session, so they're all, I guess, on their first time lap. And
well, this is critical important, because we've already had our practice with these guys. This is straight into qualifying, so this will set the grid for later on. And Jackson Shaw, fastest of all through the first and second sector. Cooper also on a charge here as well. So we'll keep you across the times as they lower, and we get our first indicative times, at least our banker laps in very shortly.
times are always close here. So
there's your fast man, by the way, on screen. That is Jackson Shaw, fastest lap of all first time around, the 112.1. If you put all of the fastest sectors together, it's a 111.6. So a bit of a time to find to put the perfect lap together. It looks like O'Shea, who sits in third at the moment, number 28, is also on a charge this lap.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if O'Shea's got a tow, because Jackson did that time on his own in clear air. So clearly he doesn't think he needs a tow and can get the job done without it. But we'll see in the races there'll be plenty of slipstreaming going on, especially down into turn number 4 and turn number 6. So, yeah, these sorts of cars, they don't need to, I guess, hang them out as wide as your Trans Am's. Massive lockup on the right front there for Cooper. So be careful. He's actually rolled out of it, and Sargent's pulled over to the side. That looks like out of turn 4 on the left, and we've just gone a red flag.
Yeah, Denzel Sargent just stopped out of the hairpin on driver's left. It's a position that the car would need to be retrieved. So race control's made a call now to bring this one back under their control. All drivers to head back into pit lane, and that's the result of the number 6 there of Denzel Sargent. All drivers in the category this weekend are from Tasmania. And I tell you what, we've been enjoying our time down here, haven't we, Thomas? On the drive from the airport yesterday, I think every single one of us in the car mentioned that is a beautiful part of the world down here, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Tasmania is absolutely gorgeous, you know. It's known for having some of the cleanest air on the planet and some of the purest rainwater in the world.
I love your research. You've been working. You should see the notes here. If you are watching on our stream at the moment, Thomas Randall, he has a career the moment he decides that racing is over, and he's going to put probably Matt Nolte, Aaron Noonan and myself out of a job at some stage, no doubt. Your level of preparation is meticulous, and probably is an insight as to how you go racing as well as our cars return to pit lane.
Yeah, no overtaking under red flag, of course, so just bringing the cars back nice and slowly, and the clock is still counting down as well, Cameron. Yep. So we'll have, at the moment, it stands about 14 minutes remaining, but by the time they get Sargent back to the lane, that may only be about 10 minutes.
It's a good opportunity to have a bit of a chat now. I can go a bit more in depth about Tabitha Ambrose, and I'm not doing it just because she is Marcus Ambrose's daughter. It does help, obviously. A lot of our audience will know Marcus Ambrose from his incredible career in supercars and then over in the US as well. But what was really interesting to talk to Adam Macro. Now, for those of you that don't know Adam Macro, very, very good driver in his day. Was, you know, part of the supercars paddock, exceptionally quick driver. I used to race against him as well, Thomas, hence why I had a chat to him, and he said, look, really impressive young driver is Tabitha. He goes, I've spent a lot of time with her. She's been brought up well. She is an exceptional sport. Really important. there, Thomas, though, was the driving craft you learned, part of your journey. And that's where I was going to pivot our conversation before, from Formula Ford to this category we were looking at right now, which started almost as a place for some drivers that wanted to get affordable motor racing, an ability at a state level to turn up and arrive with a minimal budget but have fun. That was where this started. What it's turned into around the country is actually a category that reminds me of a tin-top version, and stay with me here, a tin-top version of Formula V racing. Do you remember Formula V back in the day? It was Formula V and Formula Ford at a state level. Formula V taught you pack racing. It taught you slipstreaming, getting a tow, setting up a lap, and actually running in very close proximity to the other drivers around you, low power. Formula Ford was where you had to keep the thing up on the tyre and let it slide around. You can't have these slide around on you, otherwise you junk your lap.
Yeah, and that's where the cars just bog down and you lose the momentum. So I've been fortunate enough to actually race a Hyundai XL myself. I've done the Bend Enduro twice with Charlie Nash, actually. So 2023 was my debut, and last year as well, 2024. So yeah, there's, like you said, so much pack racing that goes on, and you really got to think on your feet in these cars, because you got to think a few corners ahead of where you want to either attack or defend. And being such a low-powered car, the slipstream is extremely powerful, and we'll see once we get into racing that it's all about, you know, how you position yourself, your car, and where you place it when you're either going for an overtake or defending. So, like I said, great way to learn that racecraft, and you just build that over the more miles you do, the more racing you do, and then you can take that with you to, I guess, the next rung on the ladder.
We've just seen a change for provisional pole here for the Hyundai XL ACL Race Series in their qualifying. Will Twining has gone to the top with a 111.495. Jackson Shaw, though, still sits in second in a 111.5, so he's 0.04 of a second off the provisional pole time, but he's gone purple through the first sector, so Jackson Shaw looking to fight back.
Twining has that fastest middle sector, so I wonder if he got a toe there where
it will
Jackson hasn't. I mean, look, you look at that middle sector of Jackson Shaw. No. To take a very different line to the two cars in front of her, but yeah, in that top four, so that's a great spot to be when we get to the race later today. So Twining still out in front with that lap time that still stands. He's just gone purple in the middle sector, actually, so we'll stay with it and see if he can finish this lap as Shaw's pitted. So 6 minutes to go, potentially maybe doing a tyre pressure adjustment or something.
Yeah.
Still plenty of time to head back out on track and have another go, but Twining's actually no longer in the tow, so 11.6 on that last time by, so a couple of tenths away from his fastest lap time. You can just hear him on the limiter there out of turn number 2, so these cars, they actually don't, well, they don't actually go to first gear here, so second gear is as low as they go for that hairpin, so pretty much every other category that goes here, they're back to first gear. Even as tight as this corner is, the XLs are in second.
Connor O'Shea on a lap here, currently third. Personal best first sector, fastest of all through the middle sector. So Connor O'Shea, 28, is the car you need to look out for Launceston Towing. A good local there. Connor O'Shea, currently third, and now holds on to third with a personal best lap. So I wasn't able to improve, but look at the gap at the top. It's 17 thousandths of a second between Shaw and O'Shea. The battle between second and third, so tight at the top. If you actually run from the gap to leader, 7/10 separate the top 7 cars. That is Hyundai XL Racing.
Well, there's only half a tenth that separates the top 3, and Tabitha's on an accumulative faster lap. She just hasn't missed. She's just missed out on that last sector, but she had set a personal best for the aggregate over the first 2 sectors, and she's right.
Well, she's
behind.
getting the toe, but she's getting chopped up in the corners here. Just not able to get a decent run. So if she can get through here, grab the toe now, she can set her. She won't be able to because she's lost a bit of time into the first chicane. So in the toe down here at the moment, we'll get a look at her sector split at 25-1, long way off the pace, lock up for the car in front.
Brewer, yeah. She's almost too close to him now because she's had to actually brake earlier than Brewer for the hairpin because she's pretty close. So I'd almost want, if I was her, with 4 minutes remaining, maybe just back it off a little bit. And Brewer's actually rolled out of it, so he doesn't want her to get the toe there. So now she leads the charge effectively with braking the air pressure, and